Hello and welcome to another video on Pidini doing stuff and filming it. Now, I promised in my channel update video for 2023 that I was going to do an introduction to the bike. I announced that I'd got a bike. I'm now a biker. And yeah, it's been a few days since that video was released, so I'm finally making the video. So yeah, let's have a look, shall we? And here she is. Isn't she a beauty? This is a Lifan, or Lifan, various ways that you could pronounce it. I call it Lifan, but I suppose you could call it Lifan. Sorry, we'll go with Lifan. It's a Lifan King 125. It does have a much longer model number. It's like LF14, I can't remember exactly what it is. It's a Lifan King, and it's gorgeous. Look at it. What we'll do is we'll have a bit of a closer look, and we'll go around what it's got, some of the features on it. Yeah, and I'll just tell you all about it. Okay, so walk around. Where to start? Well, I'll tell you what, let's start here at the front. So, yep, as I said earlier, it's a Lifan King 125, meaning 125cc engine. That's cubic centimetres, none of those freedom units. It is water-cooled, which is why we've got this big old radiator on the front of it. Even has a cooling fan on the back, if we look in there, which I found interesting, given that the radiator is just hanging out on the front. I mean, how much stationary traffic are you going to be in on a motorbike that's going to start needing a cooling fan? But anyway, yeah, that's how it is. So yeah, 125cc, 5-speed gearbox. This one, interestingly, I didn't realise this until sort of the second time that I rode it. The bikes that I did my CBT on only had a front one on. So what you had to do is you would push it down for first, and just for changing down gear, and then you had to get your foot under it and push it up to change up through the gears. This one has two, and when I first rode this home, I was trying to get my foot under there. I'll try and show you. So I was going along and say I'd go down, then I want to go up. I've got to try and angle my foot under it. And I wasn't wearing trainers at the time, I was wearing boots. So yeah, it was a bit of a pain in the arse. I mean, I've had it 5 minutes and I'm already thinking, is there a way to adjust that? And then when I was having a good look over, I noticed it's got this bit at the back. And that actually does work out a lot better. I find that a lot easier. It's front one for down, so you just stomp on it to go down a gear, and then use the back one to change it up. So yeah, that works quite well for me. Anyway, let's look at the controls. Business end of the bike, got fairly standard fuel tank. It says it's as far as I could tell from, I think it's motorbikespecs.net, 14-litre tank. The guy I bought it off said it's about 20 quid to fill it, which with petrol prices at the time of recording, yeah, that sounds about right actually, 14 litres for 20 quid. We've got here, you've got a fuel gauge on it. That's the first problem with it that I will mention. Very hit and miss. Now at the moment, I'll show you. As you can see, the tank is full. So if I now put the key in, you'll see what I mean. It only shows up to 3/4. And now look, it's just gone down. If I put the lights on, it goes down to red. I was riding it around for ages yesterday, and it was just on the red almost constantly. And then when I went to fill it up, I only got like 5 litres in. I still had, well, about 9-10 litres. So yeah, not sure what to make of that. It does seem to work better once the engine's running, which I'll show you in a minute. But yeah, I can't figure that out. I don't know if the sender unit is faulty or if it's wiring. That'll be a subject of another video, getting that working properly. The dial seems to work, the little display, so I'm thinking there's a sender unit somewhere in this tank that I may need to pull out and replace. But at the moment it's rammed full of fuel, so we're not doing that. But yeah, that's what we've got. Got the gear indicator, that shows you what gear you're in. Interestingly, that will always show first, even though we're in neutral. See, a little green light indicates we're in neutral. That goes out when you're in gear, and then you have to look here to see what gear you're in. And that does work all the way up as well. It's quite useful as well. When you're new to biking, you don't have a gear stick like you do in a car. You just got your foot pedal, but it doesn't look any different. You can't tell what gear you're in. So yeah, having an indicator is quite useful. If we look over here, we've got, this was a learning experience, a choke. This is a carburetor engine, First one I've ever owned. I'm a child of fuel injection. Even my old Corsa in 1999 has fuel injection. No instructions with it either, and if you go on the internet you get nothing but conflicting information on which way it seems to go. I've worked it out though through trial and error. That is choke out or on. Again, there seems to be some argument on the internet as to which is the correct term. So you would use it that way when it's starting, and then once it's warmed up a bit, which takes 30 seconds, you can flick it off. If it's really cold, I have had to leave it on a bit longer. But yeah, generally, once it's up and running, flick it off and you'll be fine. Horn. There we go. These are your indicators, as you can see. Yeah, that's another thing. You have another flashing light to show that your indicators are on, but you can see them. You can see them as you're riding. Yeah. And press it in to cancel. Don't get self-cancelling indicators on bikes. And then that is your hazard lights, look. The issue that I've been having isn't, that's your clutch, by the way, isn't with that, it's with this, the headlight switch. Now, when I got it, it was working okay, but what I noticed was with full beam on, after a few seconds, the lights seemed to go out. At the time, the engine wasn't running, so I assumed, oh, the engine isn't running, so it's knocking off to save its battery power. But then the other day, I was playing around with it here in the garden. I wasn't, thankfully, riding at night. Even with the engine running, I couldn't get full beam to stay on. Yeah, it turns out that I need to replace this switch, which is unfortunate. So if I show you, you can see it shining on the oil tank over there, look. Yeah, you flick your lights on over here. So this is off. You've got parking light, which is, yep, as you can see, well, it's not a parking light because it goes off when you take the ignition off, but side light, whatever. And then you've got headlight mode. And as you can see, yeah, it's on. And what you'll do is flick this switch up, and you can see it just goes out. Just completely out. And what I've worked out is if I sort of press it in and hold it half on, and get full beam to go on. But as soon as I let go, light goes out. So I've got no full beam on this bike. The only other way of doing it is you have the option to flash your full beam by pressing this down. But that means I've then just got to ride with my thumb on it the whole time. So yeah, I mean, I did think that, I don't know, maybe moisture had gotten into it. It was icy and frosty when I first brought this bike home, so I thought maybe moisture's gotten into it, frozen. So I tried, yeah, spraying a water repeller into it, and that just seemed to immediately break it. So now I have no full beam on this bike, which is unfortunate because when the MOT comes along, which I've got a year's MOT on it, so I'm not that worried about it just yet, but yeah, that's an MOT failure. I have found a place out in Belfast. It turns out it's this entire control assembly with the clutch lever that you can't just get that one switch, but I have ordered a new one. The guy's on holiday at the time of recording. He's taken like a month off for Christmas, but yeah, we'll have a new one of those on its way, which is going to be good. What else have we got? Gauges, obviously speedo in the middle. The bike has done 4,179 miles. It's just about to tick over. 300 of that is me since I bought it, because I've been loving it. Rev counter on here, and then this one is battery voltage. Unfortunately, these two outer gauges have got a bit of moisture inside them, especially the battery. The speedo, the larger numbers on the outside are kilometres. The miles are the smaller ones in the middle. Now, I'd really like that to be the other way around, but unfortunately it's not. That's the way it is. I will confess, I did have a bit of an oops moment when I first got this, when I rode it home. Yeah, I thought, I didn't look closely enough, the larger numbers were miles. So I'm tootling along through the village at 30, which was the limit. I'm thinking, oh yeah, this is great, this is nice and easy, yeah, I'm quite comfortable with this. Turns out I was doing 30 kilometres an hour, which if you look is 20 miles an hour. No wonder that bus was up my arse. And then when we get out onto the country roads, I get going and go do 60. Well, as you can see, that's only, well, it's about 35, 36 mile an hour. So yeah, I'm going down 60 mile an hour to 35 mile an hour. And I'm like, why is everyone overtaking me? There were some right cunts here. And then a bus overtakes me. I'm like, oh. And then I looked at the speed and I thought, oh, I've been doing this wrong. That's why everyone's overtaking me. These gauges are illuminated, by the way. You can't tell at the moment because it's daylight, but yeah, they are illuminated. They look quite nice, actually. A nice green colour. Anyway, moving on. Right handlebar. Again, if you're not familiar with bikes, that's your throttle and that's your front brake. The rear brake is the pedal down here, which is that one. If I'm honest, while I'm riding, I'm generally using the front one. Now, when I did my CBT, they taught us to use the back one, and we only actually used the front brake when we practiced the emergency stop. Since then, however, there seems to be some massive debate on whether or not you should use the front or the back brake. The front brake on this bike, and in general, as far as I can tell, is a disc brake, and the back one is a drum brake. That seems to be fairly universal, except for your really high-performance bikes. Now, disc brakes are better, but even nowadays, the majority of bikes out there don't have ABS. So if you lock up that front wheel, you're hitting the ground. So it makes sense to use the back one. I mean, if you lock up the back one, chances are you're still going on the ground, but it's somewhat less likely. Yeah, the reason I've been using the front one is, if you look at this pedal, if I'm riding along like this, crane my leg up, really strain my foot up, that is quite uncomfortable. You see the angle on my foot, and then I have to push it forward. Now, the bikes that I learned on, that pedal was flatter, so it was more of a downward motion, which felt kind of like I was braking my car, and I liked that. But yeah, I can't get on with this pedal. I'm going to have a look, see if I can get a flatter one. I tell you what, I'll jump off and I'll show you. You can see my foot is flat here, and then this pedal is right up, and it's actually hanging over. This metal bit doesn't appear bent in any way. That is by design, but yeah, I can't get on with it. It's really uncomfortable to use and awkward to use, so yeah, I'm going to try and find a replacement pedal for it if I can. Maybe just a flatter one. So yeah, I've been using the front brake. What can I say? It's a different bike to the one that I learned on. This is your brake fluid reservoir. It's nice and full, as it should be. All bikes seem to have them here. I don't know why they're there. I mean, it's so that you can see them nicely, but I don't get why it can't be down there or on the side of the bike, say. But yeah, all bikes seem to have it right there. Whatever. This at the top is a cut-off switch. I don't know why you would use it, because the ignition is there if you need to turn it off. And also, if you just put the kickstand down, the engine cuts out, which is what I do most of the time when I pull up somewhere, say the petrol station, just put the kickstand down, just knocks the engine off, and then you just take the key out. I mean, I suppose if you came off, it's a big red switch. You know, anyone coming to help you can just reach down and flick it. And electric start. Oh, there, see, that's your starter button. It does also have a kickstart, which is interesting. Both work. I suppose if the battery's flat, you still have the option to start it. But I don't know if it would start, the battery being completely flat. Maybe it would. But I can't think of any other reason why you would have that when you've got an electric starter on it. And it's not like that's been added either. That's a standard part of this bike. And even if you like stall it at the lights, it's not like the kickstand is any faster. So why would you bother? Anyway, let's start her up and I'll, yeah, we'll have a listen. We'll have a talk about the engine. Being a carburetor engine doesn't really like starting from stone cold. It does take a few attempts. As far as I can tell, that seems to be fairly normal for these style of engines and these style of bikes. It's quite old-fashioned. It's a 2014 model, but it is quite an old-fashioned design. It's a budget bike. What can I say? You know, I'm not exactly the richest guy in the world. So, on in neutral, and yeah, and what we'll do is we'll give it some choke. It was running about half an hour ago after I gave it a clean. So yeah, give it some choke and let's give it a try. Yeah, so it's a bit cold, so that's why the idle's a bit uneven on it. Once it gets fully up to temperature, it quietens right down and it will just sit and idle all day. You notice if I give this, yeah, when you very first start it, it's still got a bit of heat in it because I had it running about half an hour ago. That's why it started so quickly. But yeah, I bet if I give this maximum gas, it'll probably cut out. Let's give it a try. Yeah, if you give it too much power and too much petrol, too much gas in one hit, it does cut out when it's cold. It'll start straight back up. And then you've just got to go gentle on the throttle. Yeah, if you just yank it on, it stalls. As far as I can tell, that's just a carburetor thing. If you put too much fuel through them, they bog down and the engine cuts out. They don't get the air through. So that, though, isn't a problem, again, once it's warmed up. Once it's running, you don't have an issue, but whilst it's cold, yeah, a bit of a lumpy idle. Again, I don't see it as a problem. If this was a brand new modern bike, say like a Honda or a Suzuki, I'd be somewhat unhappy with it, but it's a cheap Chinese import, and it's 6 years old, and it's running on a carburettor. It's not, you know, the modern ones are fuel injected, so, yeah. Let's just see if the cut-off switch works, so... Oh, yeah, it does, look at that, and then... So that doesn't do anything now. That's interesting because, well, I'll show you. I said that if you put the kickstand down while the engine's running, it cuts out. It's a safety feature. You know, you don't want to ride with your kickstand down. If that thing touches the ground, you're done. You're coming off the bike and you're having an accident. So yeah, I'll show you what I mean. So we start it up. Kickstand cuts it straight out. What's interesting though is, with that switch, the starter didn't do anything. But with the kickstand down, the switch is still on. It now turns over but won't fire. Put the kickstand up. Start straight away. You notice the fuel gauge is going a bit mad as well, don't you? Yeah. That sorts itself out as well as you're going along, but yeah. I notice the battery gauge has gone right up to the top as well. But yeah, you knock that off. I don't know what that is doing. I'm guessing it's just killing that. Well, it's killing something in the engine as well, but it's killing something electrical, whereas the kickstand is obviously stopping the engine by other means. So let's knock it back on, and I'll show you how the Kickstarter works. Right. So it's on still, and what you do is you flick it out like that. Tell you what, we'll climb on it to do this. And you literally just boot it down. You just go like that. That's it, she's running. Yeah. Interesting, I wonder what it does if I flick that switch, then try it with the stand. Is that just interrupting the electric? So let's see what happens. Now, all that's happening is it will turn, but it's never going to fire. And then it slaps you in the leg. I don't think there's not a lot else to show you with it, other than it's fucking cool. I love looking at this bike. It is fucking cool looking. I don't care what anyone says. Oh, it has got, there's one on the other side as well, for your passengers. I have tried sitting up there as well. It's quite comfortable. If anything, I'd say you've got more leg room sitting on the back than you have on the driver's seat, I suppose. Interestingly, that they have included that because I can't take passengers. I'm on a type of provisional licence. There's like 3 levels of licence to motorbikes in the UK. The one that I'm on, where I've got a full car licence and I've done my CBT, that puts me on a provisional A1 or A2. I'm not allowed to pillion passengers. So those pegs are never going to get used. I may even just take them off one day. But yeah, it's interesting that they've included them. Also, being a 125, it's not the most powerful bike in the world. And I can't imagine it's going to get any better having an extra 100 kilo human on the back of it. So yeah, they've been a bit optimistic with that, really. But I mean, it looks cool though. I did think about taking this off earlier whilst I was giving it a clean. I could take this seat off and this whole frame, save a bit of weight, and I think it'll look quite cool. It'll give it a cafe racer style, you know, just the seat and then the back mudguard. But then I decided against it because it's just going to have all the bolt holes showing, so it'll look pretty crap. So I decided against that. It's good that they've included them, but also pretty pointless. Coming around the back, one last thing. Yeah, I do have to have L plates. It was a bit of a strange experience, being 32, 33 in a month, and I've been driving since I was 17. I had to go out and buy L plates, and they were surprisingly difficult to find as well. I went around like 4 different shops that I thought would have them, and then the ones that I got were crap. They fell apart after one ride. So I ordered those off Amazon. Nice plastic rigid ones that are just attached there, and then we've got another one on the front forks. Yeah, that's about all there is to say about it. So to summarise, so as I said in the channel update video that I made, the 2023 sort of going forward update, this is a brand new hobby to me. If I'm honest, I've wanted to get into bikes since I was 16. Well, at 16 it would have been mopeds, but you know, that sort of age. But it just didn't happen for me. No particular reason, I'd say. I got a job at 16, I was saving up the money, but then I just kept spending it on other stuff, laptops and beer. And then when I turned 17, I was encouraged to start driving lessons and then get a car, and that's what I did. And yeah, the whole sort of biking thing just sort of died because I was into cars, and I still am. Got several project cars on the go, videos are on the channel about those. Yeah, it's always just sort of been there at the back of my mind, but it just didn't happen. And then, you know, I went off to university, you know, left home, started paying bills, you know, and eventually, you know, rent, mortgages, and yeah, there always seemed to be something in the way. I finally reached a point in my life where I could get into it. Now, the thing that changed wasn't really my circumstances. What it was my work offered, well, they didn't specifically offer me, it's a perk that they introduced that they would pay for you to do your CBT, and I was like, sweet, I'll take advantage of that. So I went and did that, and then having done the CBT, and I did the CBT on a geared bike, I think it was a Honda CB125, so a proper geared bike, similar to this, looks a lot different, but obviously all the controls are the same size engine. I thought, this is pretty good, I want this. What allowed me to buy it was I was left some money by my late grandmother, not very much, but enough to buy this and all the gear for under £1,000. I did, for a time, consider just keeping the money and putting it in savings. There is a cost of living crisis on at the time, but what I didn't want to happen was for that money to sit there and just get swallowed up and used on bills. I didn't want my grandma's money that she left to me to buy something that I want being swallowed up by greedy energy companies. So I thought, you know what, bollocks to it, I'm just going to go out and buy it. So bought a bike, all the gear that I need, insurance, let's say, did the whole lot for around about £1,000. I may have gone slightly over budget, but whatever. You know, the bike was the biggest cost, £800 for the bike, and the guy threw in two of his jackets as well for an extra £100, so 900 in total. I just had to buy a helmet, gloves, and get it all taxed and insured in my name. Insurance less than £100. I suppose it helps that you work for the insurance company. But yeah, insurance less than £100, and the tax was, I think, 25 quid for the year. Really cheap running costs. Once you get over the initial outlay, because you don't just, it's not like a car, you just buy the car, tax it, insure it, and away you go. You've got to buy all the gear to go with it. So yeah, once you get over the initial outlay, the actual running costs on bikes are so small. They're great. So yeah, that's how I've got into it. I've wanted it for a long time, and I'm really glad that I've got it now. Plans going forward. Right at the time of filming, practice. I've been out on this bike 4 times now. That includes the time I rode it home as well. Yeah, I will admit I do need practice with it. I mean, I'm 32 now. I'm not 17. I'm under no illusions. I do need practice. I do need to learn. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. One thing I will admit, it is a lot heavier than the bikes that I did my CBT on, and that is making a difference. I am having trouble. Part of it is just me. I need to learn to to trust the bike and to lean it and to use the handlebars, and to force it to do what I want. But the bikes that I learned on were really light. They were sort of a sports style bike, and they were really easy to use. You can tell that's why they use them for new riders. But yeah, the bike will do it. I've just got to practice with it. We are going to may even be the next video in this series, building a top box. I did think about just ordering one. I thought, nah, build my own. So that'll be a cool video coming out. We're going to build a nice top box for the back, and I also want to build some like panniers for it. that'll probably come a bit later. I need to plan how I'm going to do that and attach it, but yeah, I've started planning the top box at least. But I'm keeping this bike. I love it. I mean, who knows, in the future I may get bigger and more powerful bikes, or bike or bikes, but as of right now I love it. It's my first bike. It's cool as fuck. I'm sorry, I don't care what anyone says, this bike is cool as fuck. So yeah, I love this bike. So other plans, yeah, I basically just need to get stuff for it. I've got the basics. I might do a walkthrough of my gear actually as well. At the moment, the basics I've got, obviously helmet. You can't ride without a helmet in the UK, it's illegal, as well as being fucking stupid. But yeah, obviously jacket, gloves. I still want some trousers and some proper riding boots. Put that out of the way. I'm comfortable at the moment riding in jeans and boots, but I do want to get proper gear, especially if I'm going to start doing longer and longer trips on roads that I'm not familiar with. I also need to figure out how I'm going to record it. I don't really want to use my phone because, well, it's an expensive phone. I don't want it falling off, or if I come off the bike, say, I don't want my phone getting smashed because I may need it to call for help. So I want a camera of some sort, but yeah, that's probably the second most expensive thing I need after the actual bloody bike is a camera. I want a GoPro, but they're a lot of money. So yeah, that's about it on the plans. Yeah, the battery on my phone is dying. It may already have died, actually. I'm just sat here talking to nobody. So yeah, we'll call that it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next biking video.
Thank you for watching this video on doing stuff and filming it. Please don't forget to press the big button here in the middle to subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you liked what you just saw, please click the like button below and leave a comment letting me know what you liked about it. And as always, thank you for watching.